Hey guys, the video series here is going to change gears a little bit. I'm going to go through actually a series of videos that are going to cover how to build different templates of things that we can use in either a single player or a multiplayer map. Things such as AI interceptors or interdictors, maybe an AI bomb flight that we could escort, objectives for multiplayer games such as airfields, factories, explosions, and the like, and some of the game mechanics that would need to be used there to report back to the players what they've done and what's going on. So to start with, we're going to kind of build off of the last video, which covered an AI fighter group that respawned. In this case, we're going to set up a similar sort of AI response. Uh, this one is going to respond to a check zone. So in our example here, we'll say we have an enemy or an allied fighter, player controlled, that was going to take off from around Lapina, and somewhere between Zebrovka and Prava, we want a German fighter or set of fighters to fly in there and intercept. So the German fighters wouldn't be active until our allied fighter ends around Stepnoy. So we'll go ahead and start that. So one of the first things we'll add is the check zone over Stepnoy. And we will set the zone to about 5,000 and check allied planes to true, because we want it to look for allied craft. We can see our yellow circle here, which is showing where our planes would need to fly. Now remember, the yellow circle here is a check zone, so CPU processing is used for this. So you don't want to make it too big. You want to make it big enough that it's going to get done what you need it to do. And remember, this is not activated yet. We're going to have to also add in a mission begin. And we'll go ahead and set a timer here as well, right in between the two. Set the timer for about 3 seconds, and we'll name that timer 3S so we know. And it'll target link to that, and then target link to our check zone. That activates our check zone at the start of the map. Remember, we add the timer because we want to give the map enough time to have loaded all its components. We don't want it to miss starting this check zone. So essentially what we're going to do now is add in our fighter. So this instance, we'll go ahead and use an 109F4, and we'll put him up here around the airfield. We'll again set his altitude to about 1,500. Oh, and let's also not forget to set the check zone height as well, 1,500. And actually, we'll set it to 1,000. And our plane, we will create a linked entity, and he's going to be at 1,500. We'll look in the advanced plane properties with the arrow there next to the name field. Uncheck enabled, set the country to Germany, and say that he is in the air. And we'll have the default skin. We can select a specific skin, like a white one if we were in a winter map. Weapon mods, we'll go ahead and remove the headrest and add the armored windscreen, just to show you how that's done. And that standard loadout's fine. We're going to take that. So we're going to hit OK. We're also going to change his rotation here in the AY value. 0 is a heading of 360. We actually want 180. So he'll be flying south now. Okay. So he's going to be coming out of this airfield, sort of. But there's no interaction between these yet. So what do we want him to do? We want the check zone to trigger and then enable our plane here. So to do that, we're going to have to add the MCU for activate. And so we'll lay down the trigger activate. And so what we'll do is we'll have it trigger the activate and then Shift O, add the plane as an object to the trigger activate. And so we have the checksum triggering the activate and enabling the plane. But the plane doesn't know where to go or what to do. Now, in the previous video, we used attack area, so that is an option here. I'm going to do something a little different, and something that I like a little bit more is just set a waypoint. So we'll go ahead and set a waypoint for right near the northern part of the city. We'll again make sure that its altitude is set to the same as our plane. You could set it above or below if you wanted it to either climb or descend to that altitude. We're going to go ahead and go into its advanced properties, set the priority to low, which means that he's going to attack anything he sees, but still try and go to his waypoint when he can. An area of 200 meters and a speed of 300. And we're going to hit Shift O again and object link that back to our plane. So our plane will now fly there once this trigger is actually triggered, which it's not yet. So we've done that. Now what we can do is, once he gets to this waypoint, mission complete for him. We actually want him to fly in a continuous circuit or a patrol. So what we'll do next is we'll have him go to over here in we're going to hold down Shift and left click, and then Shift and left click again at Bravo, and there we have it. So now he will go to this waypoint, then this left waypoint, and then the right waypoint, and then he's done. So we actually don't want him to complete there. We want him to continue to fly this circuit. So we're going to target link this back to that first waypoint, and we've created a loop. And by holding the Shift key down, you see we automatically object linked our plane to each of these waypoints. Now, all we need to do is trigger the first one, and so probably one of the easier ways to do that would be for me to create a timer here of about 1 second, and it will be triggered the same time as our enable, but it'll wait a second, and then it will trigger our waypoint. So the plane spawns, and a second later he's told to report to this waypoint. And so in this instance, we're all set for a basic patrol. Let's go ahead and add another plane, because that is the benefit of doing it this way. So if we just Control C, Control V, cut, paste, the plane will have all the same values as you see here. Well, maybe not. Weapon mods didn't look to carry over. Should have. Maybe I just reset them on accident. But anyway, what we're going to do to make him part of the formation is target link him back to our lead here. Now when our lead's shot down, he'll take over and perform all his orders or actions here. So, and we could add, let's say Germans like to fly in 2-plane elements. We could add 4 and just have them all target linked back to the lead. And so there we have it. We have a 4-wing element that would intercept any allied planes. Now that might be a little much for a single player, but we can always trim some of these off if we want. If we want them to, or you know, if this is a single player mission, we could add AI to friendly AI to help our player. One thing to do, we have 4 planes here. Maybe we want them to fly in formation. What we can do is we use command MCU for formation here under command. We can add that and Shift O, object link that to our lead, and then we could do, say, spin another 1 second timer off of the first one. So after the checkzone's hit, it's going to enable this, and we actually, it's a good point here, we also have to enable these planes, because if you look, they're disabled by default, just like what I copied them from, and all of these need to be enabled. So that's the other thing we have to do. Cut, paste, target link, and then also object link using Shift O, all of these to the enabler. So now the enabler will enable all of these planes. A second later, the 1 second timer was triggered, as well as the enable or activate trigger. and that will first fire the waypoint, and then they'll fly to the waypoint. Well, we added another second timer, which will be triggered right after the waypoint is triggered, or as the waypoint is triggered, and that will trigger formation. And if we go into formation, we can set it to, let's have them fly V in a safe density. Safe and loose are really the best options here. Dense can you can have some strange behavior sometimes. And so they'll fly in this formation. Now I don't know if this next part's necessary, but I usually do it, which is I target link all the waypoints back to, or all the waypoints to the formation. Which just means that as soon as they hit their objective waypoint, they're told to fall into the same formation. Now you could create multiple formation links and have them change formation after each waypoint if you wanted to. That's a fun thing you can do, an option if you want. So right here we have this. This is our basic intercept group. So yeah, one of the other things we can do, which is a good idea, is to come in here and name things. You can rename these. If we're going to set them in a template, it's a good idea. So patrol CZ for check zone, patrol CZ1 for check zone 1, and the timers I just leave the same, and we could say activate, patrol activate. Activate 1 and patrol formation 1. And then we could also say, for ease of use, patrol waypoint 1, patrol waypoint 2, and patrol waypoint 3. Now you can come up with other whatever naming scheme you want. So that's 1, 2, 3, right? Okay, so we're good there. So now these have somewhat recognizable names, and again that's useful because if we wanted to come into any of these and let's see. If we wanted to, as you see here, if we wanted to link to these, we see the actual names here. We could add descriptions as well to read from, but I can tell here, not by just the ID, but I can say, oh, this ID 58, remember these are unique identifiers, is for the patrol waypoint 1. And I could actually put in patrol waypoint 1 for maybe if I have more of this group that I'm creating here, this template, I could say waypoint 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4 for the first waypoint in each of my different groups. So that's probably a smart idea in this case that I didn't do here. This will help you so that you can more easily identify these targets for when you're selecting them out of lists like this. Now the next step would be to export this all into a template. Before I do that, I usually group it, and we can name this group patrol. Let's say 109 F4 2. What is this? Four fighters we decided? Yeah, 4X. So that is 4 109 F4s in a patrol, and that's in a group. So we need to add that. So now what we can do is make sure this is selected. Right click, save selection to file. Here we are in missions. Again, most of the templates are kept in your under your main game directory, data, and then you can navigate to templates. As you can see here, here's all the city stuff. You don't want to delete or overwrite this. Keep this around. You can create a custom or whatever you want to call it. We can call it templates here. I can go in here, and then I can call this again similar naming to what I used earlier, which is patrol 109 F4 2X. I'm sorry, 4X, and save. So now I've saved this group here. I can move it around. And again, like if we go ahead and set this as a working group, we can rotate it to face a direction we want. We can move around our check zone to have it trigger in different places, keeping in mind that they're going to go to this first waypoint. We can add or subtract planes if we want to as well, just by deleting there. Or if we want, of course, we can go to File, Import from File, and import our patrol group here. And we've just imported it. I actually was already in this group, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is select it, Control X to cut it, set the primary as this, and we'll cut paste here. Okay, so here we go. Now we've just duplicated this template, and we've got two. So what we could do is we could say, if they fly in the vicinity, we'll have step maybe the middle, and have these check zones just about touch. So it looks like they could fly. If they flew right down the middle of step 9, they could get out of here without having to trigger one of our patrols. But if they flew, either to the east of Zabrovka or over Praga, they're going to trigger our patrols. And so this is how you can use these groups to quickly add these in here. As we can see here, we have our groups here. So, yep. Anyhow, sorry, this is an older version of a practice that I was running earlier. So these are not exact matches of each other, but you get the concept. Yeah. That is the gist of these templates. I hope this helped, and I'll have some more here coming soon. Thanks.